Welcome back, everybody. This is the second video in my series comparing the Warlock to the Crossbow Xpert fighter. We've gone through some of the issues and we were talking about Darkvision. Check out that video if you'd like to go into that a bit more and leave your comments about anything here. I do love the Warlock and the Crossbow Xpert. I've talked about the feat a little bit more in my last video. Some people think it is broken, but I don't think it is, and I think that it's actually an example of what the fighter should be able to do. But let's get back into it. I did have a Tiefling Warlock called Agricius that I really enjoyed playing, but as we'll see in this video, I don't think you need to be anything except for a variant human. So let's get into it. So continuing with this Darkvision, like creatures with Darkvision in darkness still have a disadvantage on perception checks, and this really isn't played by many DMs, and they have a -5 to their passive perception. So when you go into a dungeon, there should be some repercussions to everybody using Darkvision, so you will be more stealthy because you're not carrying a light source, but you're more likely to fall victim to traps, and that creates an interesting decision that the party has to work through, and that is, are they going to do a stealth, like assassination kind of mission, or is it something that they have to be careful of traps and pitfalls and things like that they're going to need their perception on as high as possible. So I really encourage Dungeon Masters to include these rules in their game, because it is a nerf to humans and other creatures that don't have Darkvision, and other players shouldn't view those characters without Darkvision that do use torches as a hindrance, because actually they're helping them avoid traps. Anyway, I have made this particular Warlock a variant human instead, and it was better for it, as you'll see, and that first level feat really set the thing going. You'll see that I chose +1 charisma and dexterity. You could do constitution if you wanted to. I just thought give them a bit of extra armor class. Skill was perception, same as the Crossbow Xpert. Just a note I am only using the player's handbook for all of this stuff. I didn't use any other splat books. And there probably are bigger and better feats out there in the splat books. Let me know what you think in the comments. Whether this is not an optimization channel, I might do that in the future and discuss the Warlock in more depth, and maybe even a fighter in more depth later, and all of the options available and which one is the best. For now, I've just sort of gone with sort of what I think is sort of a good build, and it's keeping with a theme, but also I have chosen stuff that I think is good. So straight off the bat, for the feat we chose Spell Sniper, and the fighter later will get a Sharpshooter feat. Warcaster was another option, and we wanted to boost our charisma as much as possible, because that's what all of our spells are going to hang on. And the bonus spell that we chose was Eldritch Blast, of course. What a surprise! The Warlock using Eldritch Blast. Who would have thought? Oh my goodness. Shock. You know, you saw it here first on this YouTube channel. Anyway, as these are the abilities, you can see how they worked out. Strength we don't really need. Intelligence and wisdom we don't really need. But, you know, it's up to you what you want to do with that. Charisma is obviously the highest that we can get it. Dexterity, just to give her a little bit of armor class so she can survive to 2nd level. And Constitution is fairly high too. For the Pact, I chose the Fiend. It's predictable, but I think it has a lot more attack and defense options. And the Fireball at level 3, I mean, yeah, it's great. So for skills, I chose Arcana and Investigation. I think if you're a spellcaster, you really do want Arcana. It's probably overused a little bit by some DMs. But anyway, it seems to be one of those things which DMs fall back on with anything magical. But when, you know, I think sometimes history or nature or something could also be used. But anyway, let's continue. Just comparing the first 2 characters at 1st level. We've got the fighter has an armor class of 16 but a disadvantage with stealth, whilst the warlock has an armor class of 13. So it's going to hang back, or she's going to hang back when the fighting gets thick. As far as hit points, there's only 2 hit points difference between them. Gone are the days when spell casting magic users got a D4 for their hit points. Can you imagine that? Playing a wizard with a D4 for their hit points, now it's a D6. So that was another nerf that marshals got a long time ago that we don't even remember half the time. And the warlock's also going to get temporary hit points from the armor of Agathis. At the moment, the crossbow gets +7 to hit, the Eldritch Blast gets +5, so but this is the big thing, with the range, the fighter is going to have a, basically, usually going to be shooting at that 30 range, can shoot up to 120, but that will be at a disadvantage. Whereas the Warlock has a range of 240 with their feet that I just chose. And they're going to really, if they can, just run around and shoot. And they outrange even the fighter who's shooting at a disadvantage by twice. So I think, so the short answer to this whole video series is the Warlock's the best, because they outrange. So in an open field, the range is going to determine the winner, and especially if the Warlock can run around and get out of the way and just shoot until the fighter dies. Look at the damage too. You could the maximum damage the fighter can do is 9. You could argue that roll is a little bit better because the minimum is 4. Whereas the damage for the Warlock is 1d10. So it does a little bit more damage, but has a greater range. The place where the fighter sort of comes into its own is that it gets that bonus attack. And so that's thanks to the Crossbow Xpert feat. And you can see that the fighter also gets 2nd wind, so a little bit of self-healing, whereas the Warlock gets the armor of Agathis temporary hit points. So it's a bit of, 6 in one, half dozen in the other. And if the Warlock chooses that Expeditious Retreat spell, they'll win open field every day. Let's continue. Moving on to level 2, The fighter gets action surge, which is great. So that means they get a whole new action. And so they can be attacking 3 times in a round now. And then this is one of the reasons why people think this feat is broken. But really, it's a fighter. Fighter's got to fight, you know. The second wind is the only healing that both of the classes really get unless you chose a Warlock that had more of a celestial patronage. We'll get into that more later. And the hit points on the fighter's 20 now. The Warlock gets some Eldritch invocations, such as Agonizing Blast, which increases the damage of the Eldritch Blast. Repelling Blast pushes an opponent away. So the Warlock at 2nd level has more battlefield control now by being able to push an opponent away, as well as more range than the fighter, even though the fighter at least has those 3 attacks. And so what I found when I was playing a Crossbow Xpert, if you've got sort of minions running around, you can really like get your team members out of trouble. If one of them's being blocked by a goblin, you can shoot that one maybe once, twice. It's gone, hopefully by then. Anyway, let's continue. Moving on to level 3. So, as you know, we divide the characters up into tiers. Tier 1 is level 1 to 4, and they should be local heroes. And so in tier 1 at level 3, they get an archetype. And I chose Battlemaster, which I think is one of the most fun and complex archetypes for a fighter. They get a lot of control and they get sort of options, which makes the class more interesting. I heard that apparently this was going to be the fighter, like this was going to be combat, and it's interesting to see how 1D&D is bringing back some of this stuff for the weapons, and we might do videos about that in the future. But if you're interested in that topic, Pack Tactics has also talked about this. Anyway, so the Battlemaster gets some artisan's tools. I chose Smith. Basically, you can choose whatever you want. Smith is good though because you can make armor and make money later in your off time. For maneuvers, I got that pushing attack, which gained a similar battlefield control as the Warlock did in level 2, so 1 level behind. The fighter gets what the Warlock already has. And a trip attack, which knocks the opponent prone. Ambush was also a good option with initiative and stealth. There may be others out there that you think are better. And remembering that we are using ranged attacks, not melee. So a lot of the Battlemaster stuff leans towards melee. It would be nice to see a bit more range sort of things, but you know, there are some good options. And if you have some comments about the Battlemaster and their maneuvers, please leave it in the comments, because I would really love to hear them. I think there's a lot of scope for variety and optimization in the Battlemaster, and if you've been doing that, I'd really love to hear it. Anyway, we're coming up to the end of this video. If you have liked this video, please like, subscribe, and click that notifications bell. Leave something in the comments. This is a discussion, you know, like if you disagree with something that I've said, that's fine. Let's have a chat about it. If you know something better, let me know. You know, I'm actually this is a discussion, like I said. So just keep everything respectful. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.